Hi, my name is Jacob Lewis, and this is my report on death with dignity. What is death with dignity? Well, it is the death of oneself through assisted suicide, doctor-assisted suicide, physician-assisted suicide, and or active euthanasia. Now, some of the things about this is you must be an adult that is living in the state that it's legal in. You must be of good mental health, diagnosed with a terminal illness that you will die within 6 months, and that will be confirmed by 2 doctors. And you also have to be capable of administering medicine on your own. So it's really hard to assume that society is actually on board with death with dignity because it's only legal in 5 states. On the website, you'll see that there's more, but legally 5 states and the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And surprisingly, out of all the deaths in the United States, it only accounts for 0.3% of all deaths in the United States, and that number is increasing each year. So we can't really say what the culture is saying. We know that there is a stigma around it, and we can see that there are pro arguments, but culture in the past obviously has been affected by many things. Mainly one of the places has been the Roman Catholic Church and its massive influence on our culture and our society. So the Catholic Church 100% is against suicide. They would call it self-murder. And historically, if we look at what our now denominations are, a lot of the influences from there. There's a sanctity of life that we hold, and the Catholic Church itself would say that self-murder is something that can either send you to hell or be something that will prevent you from being close to the ones that you love and ultimately going to heaven. It's a very strange argument. But however, the argument that people will have saying that that the people that are pro death with dignity is that what quantifies and what qualifies as life? Is it you existing and being conscious? Is it you being someone who has the ability to experience things? The argument could also be applied to people in comas. What is their quality of life? Are they actually people who are living with minimal brain activity? And obviously some of the difference could be that they are stable in their health aside from being in a coma. This is an argument that is comparable to the pro-life, pro-choice argument. While it is mostly a religious argument and maybe somewhat of a moral argument, the personal choice is the thing that we need to take into a thought process in this. Of this is not the taking of another's life in the sense that a person can self-administer a euthanasia and end their life. And I think when you are choosing that for yourself, we would have to question whether or not that person is in a good mental state. What does God say about suicide? What does God say about life? I think it's interesting because God in Genesis 1 creates man, and he creates man in his image and his likeness. And I think many of us can take that for granted, and maybe even in those moments it is taken for granted, where we do not look at ourselves as being something that is actually benefiting other people, especially when we are sick and ill. A lot of the thinking goes to self-deprecation because we feel bad because we ourselves cannot help bear the burden of our illness or our sickness. And Proverbs 6:16 through 17 says, "There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 he detests: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and then hands that shed innocent blood." Now, I understand the idea of murder and how negative that is. However, I believe that if self-murder is a thing, then this would be something that God would hate. And if suicide by somebody else's hands, doctor assisted suicide, I would question whether or not that would actually fall under this category. So it's a hard subject to actually think about, because it is something that is our reality and is something that we ourselves can actually bear a lot of burden in. However, I think that the idea of choice is not always a good thing, because it does not always choose the net positive that life is good, that there is hope, and we can make it through the day. So, in my opinion, death with dignity is not something that I would choose, because you can't choose something that is going to be this severe and be okay with the outcome for other people. And it might be selfish to say that, and it might be selfish to take your own life. And I think that's a difficult thing. But this is more of a mental health thing. This is more of a spiritual thing, as much as it is a health thing. So thank you for listening to my presentation.